package in the mail. Mark. I got home from work one day that spring and found a small brown envelope from Marilyn in our mailbox. She had sent me an email warning a couple of days prior that a package was coming. I nested the envelope among the pile of other mail that I collected from the box and brought it into the house, along with my work bag and a few groceries that I had stopped to pick up on the way home. It had been a typical day at the office, meetings, phone calls, analysis, but now I was home and it was time to walk the dog, unwind a little, and start to think about what to do for dinner. I unloaded the groceries and the mail in a pile on the kitchen island counter. I picked up the brown envelope and placed it deliberately aside, face up, and aligned with its edges true to the black granite tiles of the countertop before turning back to the detritus of other mail and the perishable food items that ought to be sequestered away into the fridge for safekeeping. I paused for a moment and heard only my breath. Then I slowly began to unpack the groceries. It was a surreal dance that moved with the languid purposefulness of a celestial orbit. To this day, I don't know whether it was avoidance or the thrill of building anticipation that was guiding my behavior. As I worked, I would steal glances at the brown envelope with my name on it. With the groceries put away, I turned next to the pile of other mail, sorting through one by one until all were placed in the recycle. Then, I stood alone in our quiet home. Tina was still on her way home from work. I felt like there was some sort of slim journal or notepad tucked inside the envelope. I opened the seal trepidatiously. I could now sense Marilyn's emotional baggage glowing through the plain brown wrapper. This was not what I had been looking for. I had no real interest in resolving her issues. I just wanted to know my roots, my siblings. I pulled the notebook out of the envelope, and a yellowed piece of folded paper came free and wafted to the floor like a kite without a string. A letter from the Children's Aid Society of Metropolitan Toronto. It read, "Letter to Marilyn, undated. Dear Marilyn, I am glad to be able to tell you Stephen's adoption was finalized last year, and though the social worker who placed him has left the agency, I have her notes which she left on the record. She described him as a bright child. He was a bit fretful the first month after he was placed with his adoptive parents, but when he settled down, he became a happy, responsive child. He is big, solid, all boy. He was doing well when the adoption was made final. I think I told you that his new father is a professional person, and both he and his wife are the kind of people who can give stimulation to a child. They were experienced parents when Stephen was placed with them. I hope what I can tell you will help, Marilyn, as you think about Stephen. Yours sincerely, Miss E. Lemon." I put the letter down on top of the now empty envelope and turned to the notebook. A plain, small scratch pad of lined paper, tied up in a simple straw ribbon, about 25 pages total. I untied the ribbon and lifted the mahogany brown cover page. Inside, along with several pages of handwriting, I discovered a typed cover letter on a plain 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Letter from Marilyn to Mark, April 18, 2007. Mark, this little package is necessary for me to do this connection rightly. I have no idea if you need or want to hear this story like I can tell it. After we connected, but before I saw your picture, I went alone to a retreat center, my personal refuge, and sat for hours by a pond, thought and cried and wrote. What I wrote is in the enclosed notepad. It is a first draft, very messy, but I choose not to refine it. The story is ragged, so be it. I have huge reservations sending this to you. I don't want to impose on you what you might not want to receive, but this has been in my heart to say since January 1973. To help you, I have found a picture of me taken when I was 16, shortly after your birth. This is the girl who held you when you were born. This is the girl's heart that you heard as a love boat when your ears first comforted to sound. Somehow, I thought it might help if you had a face to connect to the story. Maybe make it real. The first half of the story, as I reread it, is really written by this girl. To say it is a story of a life and death struggle is not to over-dramatize. But also, it is a story of beauty out of context. Your life and mine are and were beautiful.